Hello Scorpio, and thank you for joining me. If you are new to the channel, welcome, and if you are a returning subscriber, thank you very much, and I hope you all enjoy this general reading. It may apply to you, or it could apply to someone that you are close to at this time. If you have strong influences in your birth chart which is associated with another sign, please feel free to cross-watch for further insights. I work with the 12 houses of the zodiac, and so as the cards are appearing in each house, then those are the influences that are coming to bear at this time. So now, for the first house for you, Pluto transformation. You're no stranger to this since this is your ruling planet, and you kind of live with these energies anyway. So basically what this is bringing in is if you have had a strong ascendant in your chart, which has up to a point, normally up until about 40, has masked your inner self, your sun sign, then this could very well apply to you, where the strong Scorpio qualities in all their fullness and splendor will start to come out now. Or it could just be that your particular influences are very felt really strongly at the moment, or you're projecting them outward. The first house is everything to do with yourself, your appearance. It's also that what you project outwards to others, so how they perceive you. So that's your characteristics and your personality. It's also the first house also rules your physical vitality, your physical body, and your self-oriented interests as well. So now, with this card coming in, all the themes of Pluto transformation are around sex, death, and rebirth in some form. So any one of those areas could be applying for you at this time, but they're themes, and so therefore you could be having all three or one of those coming up for you at this time. But it's quite an intense period. So this is how you are being perceived by others as well. So you could be coming across as very scorpionic at this time, almost secretive, very deep, and you may just have to be a little bit careful about who you open up to as well during this time, because secrets could also be coming out, not necessarily yours, but you could be seeing it in the people that you're interacting with as you go through life. There could be a regeneration or renewal of some kind for you. So whether this is in the physical body, or whether it's an interest, a self-oriented interest, which you are now putting back into place, or you're just feeling better, you're feeling stronger, you've regenerated in some way. So hidden or buried emotions or motivations can come to the surface now as well with this. So stuff or things that you just haven't dealt with, or you haven't been able to deal with, or you buried, will start to rise to the surface, because Pluto rules the underground, the underworld, and nothing can stay hidden when Pluto is around. So now this card can also bring in endings and beginnings. So something could fall away and something new could begin. Or it could be a resurrection from something that has ended. So something comes out of that situation, something comes out of that ending, which is going to be front and center for you as well. You could also be having a clean slate of some sort. So whether this is a physical regime, or it's just the way you are conducting yourself now from now on, but it's some sort of clean slate that you could just be wiping the decks and starting again. You could also be seeing something for what it is. This is something from the past. It could be a bit of a disappointment to you. So you may have seen it one way in the past and thought it was better than it was actually. So it could come through for you like that. Pluto and transformation could bring in a few surprises as well for you. In the second house, we have Grand Cross Provoker. So the second house is everything to do with your income, your money that's coming in. It's also to do with your possessions, what you own, and your self-worth, and also your value systems. So your self-worth and your value systems are often very closely related. So now it can also cover your property, your real estate, or you may be in that field in some way. So now Grand Cross Provoker coming in I feel this is going to affect you probably in the monetary side. There's going to be sort of pressure and tension coming to you at this time, which is going to create movement and change. So that downward pressure kind of forces you to actually put things into motion. You may feel pulled in different directions at this time as well. Maybe you just have too many things going on, or too many expenses, or you're just going to be feeling under pressure at this time. It could also be a bit of a painful growth period. It's a sort of it's a deep self-analysis and a self-assessment as well. So there may be a growth period, and then after that will come a period of renewal, but you've got to go through that growth period to get to the renewal. You could also be facing some resistance or feeling frustrated about certain situations that are not moving for you as you had hoped. You could be juggling as well, juggling lots of different things. So the best way to deal with this energy, which is basically 4 hard energies bearing down on you, then the best way to deal with it is to really focus on your top priorities. Just select a few, and the ones that you can really easily cope with. So it's a focus, prioritize, and also communicate with others to assist you to move forward. And then you've got to also apply discipline. So you've got to be disciplined about what you're doing. Don't go off at a tangent or feel that you're just not getting a grip on anything, you're making no progress. You must just focus on your top priorities and move forward with those and communicate with those that are working with you in this at the time. Once you start doing that, then you will gather momentum on what it is that you're trying to put into motion, and then it will be unstoppable once you do that. This is about being diligent, and also you're looking for long lasting here. So whatever money is coming in for you and however you're using it, it needs to be long lasting. It needs to be really beneficial for you. As I said, this could apply to what you own as well. It could also just be your value system, what you're valuing at this time. Something perhaps that's changing. Perhaps you're valuing certain things more than you used to, or you're just having a really long, hard look at things. But it's all about priorities now. Then in the 3rd house, we have Saturn return age. 3rd house is all your forms of communication. So your communication, so whether this is written or verbal or even your body language. This 3rd house also covers contracts and documents of all kinds, anything that's written. So whether that's for purchases or to do with contracts with work, or however it applies for you. This 3rd house can also apply to local travel as well. So now, with interactions with others, what may come up in this house is interactions with cousins, aunts and uncles, and even siblings, and also neighbors. So things could come up to do with that. Now, the 3rd house, with Saturn return in the 3rd house there, what this is bringing back for you is it's a return. So it's issues from the past coming back. So now Saturn does a complete revolution at the age of about 29, and then at the age of about 58. So this may or may not apply for you at this time, but it's got that feel about it. It's something coming back, and it's issues, long old issues that you may have to deal with now. But it really is about being responsible for your own goals and your own self-expression. So this is about being authentic and being genuine, your actual genuine self. And as I said to you before, in your 1st house, if you've had a strong ascendant which has masked your scorpionic self up until now, well, it's going to be coming out. And you're going to have to really have a good long hard look at how you talk to others, how you interact with others, and how you conduct yourself. This is a card of correction. So a course that you may have been on before, if it had a wobbly or infirm foundation, it will simply crumble away and you'll have to start again. What you're aiming for with this is slow build up from a solid base. So you've got to build up slowly in whatever way this is applying for you. It's about applying understanding and wisdom which you have gained over time. You're really going to have to apply that in a variety of different ways. Perhaps you're having a conversation with a family member which is long overdue. It's that kind of energy, and it's a strong and it's a time-based energy. This You could also be feeling quite pessimistic at this time, so be aware of that. If you've had rose-tinted spectacles on, they're going to be ripped away with this. It's about facing the past and also getting real about what you're doing, what you're saying, and just dealing with a whole lot of contractual or document type situations at this time. Then at the fourth house, we have Venus love coming in. So so this is a kind of a break from all the other things that are going on at this time. Venus love is coming into your fourth house, which is the house of home, your actual home, your physical home. It's also the energies in the home, or it could even be the people in your home. So it's the home environment. It's also your relationship with your identity, so your ethnic identity or your family foundation and your roots, so like your family tree, where you have come from. It's all about your interaction and your relationship with that as well. So now with Venus love coming in, it brings in exactly that. So you can apply this in a few different ways. It's also about enjoying your home comforts, your luxuries, sensual pursuits, food, beauty, love, relaxation, and also charm comes in, and peace. So you could be asked to be bringing those all those qualities into your home, or you could just be feeling, you could really just be feeling a lot of love and a lot of happiness in your home. Just be aware that the love of luxuries, you may just not need to be spending on luxury things at this time. Just assess your own situation and decide from there. If you feel you need a small a treat, well, then you can look at it and assess your situation, as I said. It could also be bringing perfumes and oils and potions into your home. It's also about the arts. So that's being artistic. Perhaps you want to redecorate your home. It's an artistic flair you want to bring in. Or you could just be, bringing, as I said, bringing those lovely smells, even if it's just a lovely potpourri or something into your home, just to lift your home and make it feel welcoming and loving towards you in your own home environment. You could also be making improvements to your home. This can bring in windfalls as well. So some things that you just may want to do, and it's all about making your home, your beautiful place to be. You could also be focusing on handcrafts, because that also comes in under this card. It could also be that someone is coming into your home, somebody's visiting you perhaps, who exhibits Venus traits, and that's all those things I've mentioned. The love of luxury, they love their home comforts, they're quite sensual about their food and the way they dress, and they love a beautiful surroundings. They're quite charming people. So you could be having somebody in your home like that, or it could be an existing renewal, so an existing relationship which is having a bit of a renewal and going through this. But it's about making peace as well, and you could also be partnering with somebody in your home environment as well. Then in the fifth house, we have Mars force. Your fifth house is your house of children. So if you have children or children that you're associated with at this time, it's also your house of creativity, which is not necessarily artistic. This can be any form of creativity, however you're using that. You could be creative with figures. There's lots of ways you can use your creativity. So it comes in on this house. It's also the house of love affairs and the house of fun activities, fun outings, fun activities, and also sports and recreational activities. So now with Mars force coming in, as I said, it may not apply to you, or it could apply to your children. You could be seeing them going through this, or you are having to go through this if you're part of a sports group or you're involved in an activity of some kind. So what this does is it brings in a challenge of some sort. So it's a challenge where you may have to compete or defend yourself in some way. You'll be driven to act on your goals, and it's about being passionate. It's also about pursuing something, and it's also about sports and games, but it's about being activated in some way. Excuse me one moment. Okay, so this card is also about achievement in some way, and it's the activation. It's the spark which sets sets you in motion. So whether that's a passionate love affair, or it could be a creative goal that you're now pursuing, or it could be your children that are going through this in some way, whether it's at school or university, or even as an adult. And it could also be, as I said, a sports activity or some kind of action-oriented, physical action-oriented activity which you are doing or your children are doing. With this card, rushing may come in as well, so just be aware of that. Be careful with that, because this is inspired action, but it's quite forceful. So the desire will be there to really, it will really activate you. But just be aware that you could end up with a bit of an injury or something like that if it's a physical, physical activity. Then in the 6th house, we have air element communicating. So the 6th house is your house of work. It's your workplace, your work colleagues. It's also your work projects, whatever you're busy with at this time. It's also mastery of your craft, so whatever you specialize in, or it could be something that you do on the side. And it's your daily routines. It's also the house of your health and diet, and the house of pets as well. So now with this card coming in there, it's basically asking you to think things through very carefully. So your thoughts and your words are going to be really, really important at this time, because this is the manifestation card. So if you're talking negatively or thinking negatively, or you're sort of expressing a negative outcome in whatever way that may be, it could even be your self-talk in your work position. So the whole point of this is actually to be thinking and using your words in a very positive way. This requires quite a lot of effort until you get into the habit of it. So you're going to have to slow down, and you're going to have to think and before you speak, so that what you are saying is measured and well articulated. So now you may also be required to put into words what you want as well. So this is a written, something written that you actually need to put down into words, whether this is for yourself as part of a self-coaching, or whether it's to do with your work contracts, something to do with that. You also you may be required to be quite broad-minded about what is going on, and you may need to be rational and sort of fairly unemotional about how you approach certain things. Something may need clarification as well, and that's the air element is mental, right? So you need clarity on something. You may be resolving difficulties which you've been grappling with on and off, and hopefully you will now find a solution to that, just possibly even through what you say, how you interact with these people or in these situations. The air element can also bring in technology, science, music, and inventive qualities as well. So you may be, any one of those may be part of your daily working life, or you may be using that in some way to move forward, or you could just be exposed to these new elements in your work life. You could also be traveling to learn about certain things to do with your profession, your work. And this, the air element does come in. So whether that's air travel, or it could be areas to, like sort of our mountainous, high areas, you may be just required to go there and learn something. On the health and diet side, I would say possibly overthinking things. You could end up exhausting yourself with that. Watch your nervous system as well, that you're not overtaxing it with various things that are happening. Perhaps it's just growth and you just setting yourself a huge pace. Youth issues may come up as well. So how you look, how you perceive yourself, and you may just be seeing that in some way. But as I said, travel is quite strongly indicated, and you may be having to see a clinic or go to prepare in advance for the trip. So that may also be coming up in your health and diet situation. Then in the 7th house, we have Cancer, I feel. 7th house is the house of personal one-on-one relationships. So that is a personal, love relationship, or it could be a close business partnership as well, or it could just be another close personal relationship, but it's one-on-one. This is not a group of people. It's one-on-one, dealing with each other front and center. So now with Cancer, I feel coming in, this is about your feelings. So how do you feel? And you have to really check in with your emotions at all times now. You may be dealing with a significant person, perhaps a new person has come in for you, or it could be an existing relationship and you're having to sort of get over things or navigate your way through certain things. But at all times, your inner wisdom is going to be your guidance. That's your GPS. So it's your emotional, you're going to have emotional responses to things. So watch that. Use your intuition, your instincts, and you will be feeling highly sensitive as well, or the person that you're with could be feeling like that. So, be careful of overreaction and so on. With the Cancer card, Cancerians are very resilient people. So you may need to develop that in some way as well. Perhaps you've been very shy and introverted up to a point, and now you're having to actually break away from that in a relationship. Also, this card brings in imagination and creativity, also the arts and music and food. So all of these things come in to your relationships. Perhaps you are entering into a business partnership with somebody, or you're going to be bringing these elements in yourself to your relationship. Perhaps you're going to be enjoying various outings, or the person that you're involved with is involved somehow and wants to bring these into the relationship. It could also be a not known relationship, so secretive or just under wraps. This card also could bring in domestic issues, so just be aware of that and monitor that situation. Women's issues or influence of women in the relationship. Perhaps it could be a mother or a cousin or an aunt or somebody, or just the person that you're involved with. And the other side of the emotional, terrain is being moody, crabby, or touchy. So this can come in as well, and that may be difficult for some people to handle, whether it's yourself or the other person. Memories may come up as well, so that's to do with the past. So periodically it may be required to withdraw just to recenter yourself, or the other person may need to withdraw, or they may be feeling a bit withdrawn at this time. Sometimes that's necessary just to recenter ourselves. Okay, for the 8th house, we have earth element stability coming in for you. The 8th house is the house of big finance. So this is insurances, investments. It's also legacies, inheritances, banking, taxes, accounting, all those sorts of related fields. But it's big money usually. And it's also about the shared emotional and material resources between committed partners. So this would be a love relationship, or it would be a business partnership. So it's the merging of those two in a deeper committed relationship. So it's the managing all of that and the merging of the resources between two people. Now, this house also rules dealing with other people's money, so that whether that's your profession or you are involved in dealing with other people's money in some way, perhaps you're a treasurer for certain things. The 8th house also covers the sexuality within a committed partnership, and it's also it's got a variety of aspects to do with the psychic abilities and so on as well. That also comes in. So now, with this card coming in, it can also bring in endings and beginnings. But I feel what this is about finding your inner strength. So standing strong. It's about getting a master plan together, thinking particularly from a financial point of view. and if you're in a partnership as well. So it's having a master plan, but you're going to have to be practical. You're going to have to be methodical about how you go about it. It's also long-term, this. So you may also have to let go of fears about change, being overly stubborn about certain things, or having fixed views which are holding you back in some way. This card can also bring in hoarding or materialism, being overly materialistic. But it can also bring in very powerful connections for you as well. Perhaps you're meeting various types of people and they're going to assist you in some way, or they're just going to be really a good sounding board. It's also about possibly going into business as well. So this is about planning and being methodical and actually putting in long-term plans. That's what this is for. All right. So then in the ninth house, we have Capricorn, I use. So with this card coming in, it's another building sign. It's another earthy sign. And the ninth house is to do with building the ninth house is to do with international travel. It's to do with adventure and exploration of all kinds. It's also about meeting the world in some way, or the world meeting you. So whether it's being online and talking to people around the world, or having some kind of import-export business. So it's anything foreign falls under the ninth house. It's also the house of further education and study. So that is university and adult education. It's also the house of philosophy, religion, and belief systems. So it can also rule teaching and publishing, and also promotional work, so public relations, that kind of thing. It's also the house of law, and it's the house of your relationship to your in-laws. So now with this card coming in, it's about building a solid framework. So that's putting in systems. This is long term. This is not a quick action that you can take to a quick fix. This is long term. So what you put into place now must be solid. That's why you must have a solid system or a solid framework that must stand the test of time. That's what this is for. So it's also about focusing on your objectives and working towards your goals, whether that's an international trip that you want to plan, or whether it's a course of study that you want to do a university degree, but it really is the long term. It's about being diligent and focusing on your objectives and your goals, but you're going to have to work on those goals all the time. Capricorns are almost single-minded in that. They're very ambitious, and once they have their sights set on something, they work towards it no matter what. Okay, it's that kind of energy. What you're looking for is solid achievement in whatever area of the ninth house that you may be looking at. So it's about planning, and you may also have to go out on a limb for something. Perhaps you are looking at a course of study, or you're looking at a belief system which is different from your own, and you're kind of thinking about that. You may also meet a mentor, or come in contact with a very beneficial contact who's going to assist you, or just be a really good sounding board for you. The ninth house also brings in the higher courts. So if you're awaiting an outcome from that, it will be just and fair. And it could also just be the legal system in general that also comes in with this, whether it's a career for you, or whether you're involved in it in somehow. But it's also about, as I said, this is being responsible in whatever you're doing in the ninth house. And if there is an international trip involved for you, it's more than likely to do with learning. So you're going overseas to learn something or to master something, and you're coming into contact with all kinds of foreign concepts. And it's about enhancing yourself, because Capricorns are always ambitious. They're always building for their top goal, and they will do whatever they have to in order to ensure that they achieve that. It's that kind of energy. Then in the 10th house, we have Sagittarius IC. So now the 10th house is everything to do with your career, your ambitions. It's also what you look up to. It's the house of authority figures, whether that's somebody in your family or just in general authority figures. It's also the house of fame and reputation and public status, your public status. So with this card coming in here, you can expect to literally make your mark quite soon in whatever way that comes in for you. But it's earned luck coming in. You may also have to speak your truth in a diplomatic way, because Sagittarians can sometimes just say whatever comes into their mind without thinking about the consequences of what they've said. So by all means, speak your truth and be honest, which is a hallmark of Sagittarius, but do it in a diplomatic way, especially in a career environment. Or even if it's to do with your fame and your reputation. So now religion and philosophy comes in as well, so you may be looking at that as a career option. But it's about being adventurous as well. And you may need to bring in humor to whatever the situation is, whether it's you discussing career goals with your mentor, or in some way you may have to bring it in. But Sagittarians are quite restless people. They love freedom. So you may be needing to bring that in now to your career. So this is almost like loosening the reins. Try to avoid routine if you can, or just change your routines up so that it gives you more freedom. Because you could just be feeling really quite restless at this time, or wanting to buck authority. That's the other thing that can come in with this. Learning and teaching is indicated with this card, and that's come up a few times. Learning is coming in, and it's certainly with travel is also indicated yet again with this. So whether you could be traveling to learn, as I said, or something to do with your career, or something to do with what it is that you, however you are in your life in this part of your chart. So whether it's a career, or you're just in a position where you're dealing with wide, members of the public and so on. So it's to do with that, and it may be a mountainous area that you're going to. So that's come up more than once here already. Then in the 11th house, we have faith and trust. So now with this card, the 11th house is to do with your friendships. It's also to do with your associates, your associations, your societies, your social groups, whether that's online or a physical group that you're in. It could even be a book club. So any kind of situation where you're involved with a group of people, or as I said, it could be your friendships. The 11th house also deals with your hopes and your dreams, your visions of the future, and your personal hobbies and interests. So these all come into the 11th house, and it's also quite an idealistic house as well. So now another issue that it does cover is social reform, and causes to do with that, and also global or group consciousness. So trends and what's happening in society comes up with this as well. So now with Pisces, I believe coming in there, it may be about you actually finding your faith and your trust in certain situations, whether it's to do with a friendship or friendships, or on a wider scale, or to do with your personal hobbies. So faith and trust. It's also about finding compassion. You may be dealing with a friendship and it's requiring that from you. But it's a very inspiring energy. It's so inspiration comes in with this card. It's also the card for dreamers and people involved in the arts in some way. And on a more practical level, candles and perfumes can come in as well. So with this card coming in, I feel it could also be to do with possibly going into the wrong crowd or mixing with the wrong crowd. It could also be about putting boundaries in on certain relationships, friendships, or even just in groups. Other people's dramas could be pulling you in, which you don't want. There could also be a bit of confusion or victim consciousness coming in, whether this is you in that situation, or you're interacting with someone who's going through this at the time. So you may just, as I said, need to put boundaries in and just assess where you are in the groups and your friendships, and just put boundaries in to preserve your energy and your actual energy, and your just how your happiness as well. social reforms and universal consciousness and spirituality are highly indicated with this. So you could also be joining groups where that is a theme. Also, service comes in with this card. So now in the 12th house we have Aquarius, I know. So the 12th house is your house of your unconscious. So this is your hidden motivations and desires and your unconscious drives that you have. So it's also the house of your spiritual life, mysticism and healing. It's also about solitude and withdrawal. It's also the house of escapism and addictions of all kinds. It can also be your interactions or your experiences within institutions of all kinds. So this can be hospitals, universities, libraries, government departments as part of an institution, banks. There's lots of different types, but it's your interactions and your experiences in those areas. So whether you're working in that or you're just visiting a certain institution for a particular reason. So now, with this Aquarius, I know coming in, this is about, the best way to be with this is emotionally detached. So if you're grappling with a personal unconscious issue and then you need to deal with it, it's about looking at it from that point of view. Don't get sucked into the deep emotional side of it. Look at it from a standpoint of detachment. It could also be that you are required to bring in idealistic visions of what you want or what you imagine. So it's visions of the future. It's also having original ideas of some kind. So that could be you, or you're involved with others and original ideas are being bandied about and you're actually working with that. So Aquarian's all about that. It's about the future. It's about very sort of advanced technology. You could be exposed to advanced technology or be working in an area which is requiring that, or you're learning something to do with that, or you're being exposed to ideas about that. It's also got an unconventional bohemian and a humanitarian feel to it as well. So that could be coming in for you. Perhaps it's an interest or a career that you're involved in, or you're just being exposed to it in some way. It could even be at a university that you're learning or being exposed to these ideas. You could be coming into contact with people from very different backgrounds from to you. They'll be very different. And it's how your interaction, your learning about them as well. You could also be having support from friends and family or associates at this time. Perhaps it's an idea that you have and you want to take it further, or you could just be receiving support from these people at this time. I mean, as I said, you could be in a hospital or visiting hospital, or there could be some kind of interaction on that level, and you could be having that at this time. But always Aquarius is about the future and about advanced technology and also very original, unusual ideas and interactions. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful month. Thank you for joining me. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and also share. And I look forward to speaking to you again, and have a really great month, and I'll see you next time. Take care.